Okay, so this is a video that's needed to happen for a pretty long time. So here's the thing, I've been sewing my own clothes for quite a while now. In fact, I don't think that I've bought any ready-made clothing for like 2 years or something like that. Which is great, but the thing is, when you sew your own clothes, you kind of have a tendency to go after like the big, exciting projects, you know? Like I have a closet full of evening dresses and I'm home all the time sewing things out of bed sheets, not going to the Met Gala. I think it's like, if you're someone who loves to cook, I'm sure you always want to be trying like new cuisines and exciting recipes and having people over for dinner and stuff like that. But you know, sometimes you just need like a grilled cheese sandwich and a tomato soup from a can, you know? So I've been so busy accumulating all of these fun, exciting projects that I've kind of neglected some wardrobe staples. I have some gaps in my closet that are bigger than the gaps that I had in my teeth pre-orthodontia, which was pretty substantial, I'm not gonna lie. So today we are going to be making some summer wardrobe essentials. Just a few kind of basic items to round out my closet so that I can make more cohesive outfits with the fun, exciting things that I've already made. And also because again, I don't really go places that are that fancy. I go on runs and I walk my dog and my husband and I go to a sports bar on Friday nights. It's good to have some more staple items in my closet that I've made and that I feel good in and that are still really fun for me to wear and that match my own style. So some of these are just going to be sort of basic everyday items, and some of them are going to be basic everyday items that I have but never wear because they're too basic. And so I'm just gonna be elevating them, making them a little more exciting, a little more my style, so that I have something that I can wear every day but feels a little bit more special, you know? Oh, and by the way, let me know what you think. I don't know if you can really get a good view of this outfit. I just finished this short set, but I'm not quite sure about the top. I originally just had it loose, but then it kind of looked like pajamas. So then I tried adding an elastic, and I don't know, maybe I just don't like it with these shorts. Maybe that's the problem. But anyway, if you have any thoughts or ideas on how to improve it, let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. So with that, let's get into it. So first up is one, I don't want to call it a trend because it's such a staple, but I have been seeing it all around Instagram and on my Pinterest board, and it's just kind of in my head as a summer trend. It's kind of like calling, you know, having milk in your fridge a trend. It's no, like that's just something that people generally keep in their fridge, you know. It's good. It goes with a lot of things. You use it pretty often. So we are going to be making a white maxi skirt. So I got this bedsheet, of course, from the thrift store, so you can sort of see, hopefully you can see, it has just a very subtle sort of polka dot pattern in it, which I really like because it's simple and subtle enough that, you know, I can make this into a skirt and wear it with a very bright, attention-grabbing top, and it's not going to detract from it at all, but it also gives the fabric a little bit of texture, which I think is very, very nice. So I'm going to be making the sable skirt from the sable skirt set by Erin Ford, which I've made before. I think that it's just a really great, basic, easy maxi tiered skirt. I'm very excited, so let's get into it.
If you're a beginner at sewing, this skirt is like the sewing equivalent of a Betty Crocker spice cake mix. Super simple, but people will still be like, wait, you made that? I started by cutting 3 pairs of rectangles, each pair longer than the last. Think of it like a tiered cake, but with fabric. I'm doing too many cake analogies. I actually really want dessert right now. To build the skirt tiers, I gathered the longest rectangles until they were the same length as the second longest and sewed them together. Then I did the same thing with the second longest rectangles, matching them with the shortest ones and sewing them together. Kind of a Russian nesting doll situation, but with strips of cotton. I set those aside for a moment while I worked on the pockets, because why sew your own clothes if you're not going to add pockets? I started by finishing the straight edge of the pockets, then attaching them to the skirt about 10 centimeters below the top of the skirt. After that, I sewed the 2 skirt panels together at the side seams, including the pockets. Then came the finishing touches. Waistband on, hem done, and voila, a new maxi skirt. After that, I was ready to move on to the project that would kick my butt a little bit.
All right, it is the next day. The skirt is all done. I took the elastic out of this top and made it a little shorter, and I think I like it more. but it does look a lot like pajamas, unfortunately. Let me know in the comments what you prefer. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Next, I want to make a long-sleeved button-down top. I think this is just great for styling or as like a little beach cover-up. I just want something sort of lightweight and easy that I can throw on to mix up an outfit a little bit. So I have this vintage bed sheet, which I do believe is 100% cotton. It's very lightweight. I love the yellow stripes. I think it gives it sort of a beachy feel. And so for this one, I'm going to be using the Gilbert top by Helen's Closet Patterns, particularly because I love the little tie at the front and the little bell sleeves. So let's move on to the next project.
Before I started sewing pieces together, I added interfacing to the collar. Okay, the whole point of adding interfacing is to add stiffness and structure to a piece of fabric. I get that. But for some reason, every time I use interfacing I bought at the store, it feels too stiff. So instead of interfacing, I usually just use a piece of lightweight fabric similar to the garment fabric I'm using, and that generally feels better to me. After that, I stay stitched a few areas. I'll explain that more in a second. And I sewed the darts.
All right, it is the next day. I have prepared all of the pieces. So I've added interfacing to the collar and the facing. I did some stay stitching, which I don't even know I'm holding this up. I can barely see it. But stay stitching, if you don't know, is basically just when you do a simple line of stitches around like armholes or I almost said neck holes, necklines, or in this case, like also the little tie part. It's usually areas that tend to get tugged on a lot or get a lot of extra wear, and stay stitching just helps them maintain their shape even through multiple wears. We're ready to start assembling, and we're gonna start with the yoke.
To start, I sandwiched the back piece between the two yolks. Ooh, I shouldn't have phrased it like that. Now all I can think of is a burger with a fried egg. That sounds great, actually. Maybe I should make that for lunch.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do next is called grading the seam. So basically I have 3 layers of fabric here. I have the 2 yolks, and then I have this back piece all sewn together. And so grading the seam essentially means that I'm going to trim down each layer of fabric to different lengths. So this first one, I'm gonna trim down to about a 1/4 inch seam. The next one will be maybe like 3/8 of an inch. And then the last one will be a little bit longer. And the idea is just to help reduce bulk. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Sorry, my hand's a little shaky, but I just wanted to give you kind of an up-close look of what grading a seam looks like. So you can see this front yoke ends right here, and then the back bodice ends here, and then the back yoke is the highest. So it creates this sort of stair effect that helps reduce bulkiness.
Next, I sewed the front and back pieces together at the shoulder seams. And then I graded them. Then I pressed the edge of the front facing and sewed it to the back yoke. And I graded those seams too. I'm telling you, this project has so much grading, I'm officially tenure track. Finally, I pressed the seams.
All right, so up next, it's time to work on the collar. The idea of sewing a collar used to be really intimidating to me, but honestly, it is such an easy process. So I have my 2 collar pieces. To sew the collar, I'm just gonna put these 2 pieces right sides together. And then this sort of more curved side, you can't see, but it has some notches in it. So this is the side that I'm going to attach to the shirt. So what I'm going to do is sew along the outer side. So these 2 short ends and this long end. I'm just gonna sew a long seam through here. And so let's go do it.
Quick counterintuitive tip that I learned making this project. If you do a couple of stitches diagonal to the corner, it actually helps you get a nice sharp corner. And here I am, say it with me, grading the seam. That's right, well done class. At this rate, I feel like I should be charging tuition. Then I used a small knitting needle to push out the corners sharper than the side-eye my husband gives me when we're already late and he hears the sewing machine start up. Finally, I top stitched all around the collar to hold its shape and give it a clean, finished look. And lastly, I basted the collar to the neckline.
So first up, yes, I am in a different shirt because I took a little turkey burger break and the ketchup bottle actually exploded. It got on the walls, on the floor, and of course, on my shirt. Okay, now that the collar is basted in, we are moving on to the next step, which is, I don't think controversial is quite the right word. Most sewists have kind of a love-hate relationship with this next step. So we'll be doing the burrito method. Basically, we'll be using that to finish the shoulder seams and conceal all of the raw edges. It is a very effective method, but it is a little tricky. I don't know why I'm holding my hands like this, like I'm your teacher and just called you up to my desk to talk about something you're doing wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. I guess I am kind of your teacher in a way, maybe, but also I'm figuring a lot of this out too. I'm not the most advanced sewist in the world, and I really haven't done the burrito method very much. So we'll be doing this together, and hopefully it turns out well.
Okay, first thing you're gonna do is roll the back of the shirt toward the yoke. You know, kind of like a sleeping bag that'll never fit back into the pouch it came in. Or like a cinnamon roll you're about to pop in the oven. Or, oh yeah, a burrito. Then you flip the front facing over the rolled up back and align it with the shirt front neckline. Once that's done, you sew them together and clip the seams so everything lays nice and flat. Then flip it inside out. And if you've never seen anyone wrestle a gator before, this is basically what that looks like. I'm feeling very connected to my Florida roots right now.
Okay, I messed up. So when I made the facing, I did it in just kind of this lining fabric because often you don't see facing. It's just kind of to help you keep seams neat to sort of hide raw edges. I knew I was taking a bit of a gamble because I was like, oh, maybe there's a chance. And yeah, as I was playing around with it, I realized, duh, and if I'd really looked at the photos and the pattern pieces, I would have realized this. I'm trying to put this on like it's completed. It is definitely not, but you can see that the facing does show. Is kind of this second little triangle of the collar here. I was gonna say this looks terrible. Honestly, if I had done the collar in white, it would look fine. It would actually look kind of cool, but I did not do the collar in white. So now just randomly, the bottom half of the collar is white. So I'm gonna have to fix that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna seam rip the facing to about the shoulder seam, probably just a little bit past it to give myself a little more seam allowance. And then I'm just gonna sew the fabric, the yellow striped fabric over the facing. I mean, I could just replace it entirely, but like, I don't really feel like doing that. And I don't think that it's really necessary. I just have to get the line fabric over that, and then it'll be just sort of double interfaced, which will be fine. It'll be fine. And the good news is that I can keep this part the same. So it's just these little side pieces that I have to replace. I believe in us. I think that we can do it. Let's just go. Let's get it done and move on. It is a new day. We had a bit of a setback, you know, we had to do a little bit of troubleshooting, a little creative problem solving, but we succeeded. I did sew the yellow striped main fabric to the facing. I had to kind of seam rip it out just past the shoulder and then attach it and then re-sew everything back together. But I think that we're good. This is tricky to try on when the side seams are not sewn yet, but you can see it's shaping up. See, there we go. It's looking good. It's looking promising. It does look a little weird, kind of sleeveless and baggy like this. I was gonna say it makes me look like I'm in a gang, like I just ripped the sleeves off, but like what gang would be wearing like a yellow striped collar? Like the Dapper Dans? One of the Dapper Dans went rogue and ripped his sleeves off. I don't know. It looks a little silly right now, but I am optimistic. It's gonna look good. I'm also fairly confident that we can wrap this up today. At least I really hope we can, because I have at least 2 more projects that I want to do for this video. We'll see, potentially more depending on how this goes, but looking good. And so we're gonna move on to the next step, which is super simple. We're basically just gonna sew the facing to the shoulder seams by stitching in the ditch. If you never heard the term stitching in the ditch before, or stitch in the ditch, you know, it basically just means that you're sewing inside an existing seam. So you're keeping the stitches on the inside of the seam. They do have a special foot for your sewing machine that makes stitching in the ditch really easy. Unfortunately, I do not have that, but it's okay. It's not really that hard. It also, no one's gonna notice if like a stitch or 2 goes outside the seam. It's gonna be okay, I promise. So let's do it.
I'm so glad that I picked an angle for this shot where you really cannot see what I'm doing. That was a really good call on my part.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you kind of up close. So this is where I stitched in the ditch. And you can see, especially when I sort of press down, you can see like a few stitches here and there, but for the most part, the stitches are right inside the seam, and so you can't really see them. Okay, I had to take a little break, walked the dog, got out a little bit of frustration, because I don't know if like I skipped a step or if I'm just not understanding, but the instructions, I'm like, okay, I can see what I think she's telling me to do, but I don't see how that won't result in like raw edges being out. The point is, I took a break, I came back, and then I put together most of one half of the front panel of the shirt, and I think I kind of deviated. I just kind of did what made sense to me and what I thought I was supposed to do, and I think it looks good. I think it's gonna work. So I'll show you what I did on the other side. Hopefully Helen never sees this. Helen, tons of people have made this pattern. I've seen so many people post it on Instagram. It looks amazing. So maybe I'm alone here. I'm the only one who got stuck at this stage, but it was just not making sense to me. That's probably entirely my fault, but. So I pivoted and just went on my instincts, and I think that's gonna work out just fine here. So let's put together the front panels of the shirt.
First, I clipped into the front of the shirt about an inch above where the facing ends. Then I pressed the curved part of the top up to the notch that I just made. And I sewed that down. Then I pinned the raw edge of the facing to the front right sides together and sewed it up. And trimmed the seam allowance so everything would lay nice and flat. Oh, and remember when I pressed down the edge of the facing? Well, I pinned the facing to the wrong side of the shirt and sewed along the pressed edge. Finally, I pressed and sewed the rest of the hem. And finally, I added in the sleeves. And I'm sorry, apparently I didn't shoot any footage of prepping the sleeves, but it's all very standard and straightforward. After that, I was ready to move on to project number 3.
All right, 2 items finished, on to the next one. So the third project is going to be a pair of easy breezy elastic waist pants. I think elastic waist pants are so nice. I mean, again, I live in a tropical climate, so honestly, I wear a nice pair of lightweight elastic waist pants year round. It's never really out of season around here. It's nice and casual to throw on, but you can still pair it with kind of a nice top and accessories to make it look a little more elevated, a nice option for just like a casual day or night out, you know? But there is gonna be a little twist to these pants. I saw some elastic waist. That's like a tongue twister. Elastic waist. I saw a pair of elastic waist pants at Target that had a little slit on both sides and little bows alongside the slit. I thought they were so cute and so great, especially for summer. Like a little slit adds so much needed ventilation. In my personal opinion, the key to surviving summer is just finding clothes that stay as far away from your skin as possible. You want air to be able to get in, you want heat to be able to get out, and you don't want sweat marks to be showing up, as I have to deal with almost daily. Anyway, I'm going to be making some pants inspired by these lovely Target pants. And I'm going to be using this. It's just kind of a basic because, again, we're going for kind of wardrobe essentials. So kind of basic neutral colors, but I love that this is sort of robin's egg, I guess. I think that it's neutral enough to go with a lot, but interesting enough. It's not just, you know, like a navy or, you know, just a very basic, when you think of neutral blue, what you would think of. So I'm going to be using this bed sheet. And for the pattern, I'm going to be using, I think it's called the Bow Boxer Shorts from Maxi Sewing Club. These are obviously shorts, so I'll be making some alterations to the pattern to make it a pant. And when I say alterations, I really just mean lengthening the leg. It's not gonna be that intense. And as I've said before, links to all of the patterns that I'm using will be in the description. So feel free to check that out. All right, let's get going. Okay, honestly, I am being so lazy here. So instead of just measuring how much longer I should extend the shorts, I decided to actually overlay it with one of my favorite elastic waist pants patterns. So you can see I have the Maxi pattern, and then on top of it, I have the Saguaro Pants by Friday Pattern Company. I'm still gonna be extending where the shorts end. I'm not really following the actual lines of the Saguaro Pants. We'll see how this works. Hopefully it's fine. All right, so all of my pieces are cut out. And listen, probably my least favorite part of the sewing process is cutting out pattern pieces. But the good thing about this pattern is that there are not many pieces. You have your front legs, you have your back legs, and you have your ties, which you can kind of see them back there. I did have to cut a lot of ties because I want 3 bows on each side. But overall, not bad, pretty easy cutting. So I am going to start by finishing the side seams. And when I say finishing, I mean that I'm just gonna do a zigzag stitch up the side seams. So that's the side without this little curved end here to prevent fraying. So let's go do it. All right, so I finished the side seam. So the next step is to sew the front and back legs together at the side seam. Here's the tricky part about that. So basically the side seam is where I'm gonna have the little slit with the bows. So I need to leave a portion of the leg open for the side seam. But because I'm sort of winging this a little bit, I'm not entirely sure exactly where the slit needs to start. I want the slit to start at about the knees. So I just sort of held the front pattern piece up to myself and sort of estimated where I think the knee is going to be and measured it out, and that's just what I'm rolling with. So I'm gonna start only doing one leg so that then I can sort of put it on and sort of get an idea of how it looks, if that seems about right. So we're gonna start with just one half of the pants right now, sewing up the front and back leg together at the side seam. All right. Okay, I had to back all the way up to try and give you a clear view, but these are what the pants look like. I know, very silly without the other leg. I feel like I look like I'm wearing like cowboy chaps or something like that. But overall, it's good. The slit starts here, so right about the bottom of my knee, about where I wanted it to be, maybe a little bit higher. But overall, I think we're looking pretty good. Although once I slipped them on, I was a little concerned because I knew that the fabric was a little bit see-through. But looking at it with these shorts on, I'm like, ooh, it looks a lot see-through. So I might have to create some sort of lining. Anyway, looking pretty good for now. I'm gonna go take a little break because it is the dog's walk time and he expects me to be punctual for that. We'll come back in a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes. We'll come back after I've walked and sweated and had time to cool down a little bit. All right, it is later. How much later? Don't worry about it, it's fine. Anyway, after a little bit of soul searching, I decided that the pants were just too transparent. Don't like to have to worry about what I'm wearing underneath clothing, like at all. So I've decided I'm gonna go through, and you can see here, I've already pinned an underlining, which basically just, I've taken like a lining piece of fabric and I'm just gonna zigzag stitch, so sort of pre-finish all of the seams. Not the bottom ones, but just all up the side seams and this top seam here to secure it in place so that then I have a more opaque piece of fabric. And again, I just don't have to worry so much about what color underwear I'm wearing. So this is the other front piece, it's ready to go. The leg that I already did, because I already sewed a lot of that pant leg, I might just sew up one of the sides and then just sort of attach it to what I've already sewn as opposed to seam ripping everything. But we'll see. I'm gonna start with the legs I haven't sewn and get these underlined. All right, so I did decide to underline all of the pants legs, which means that I will have to seam rip this pants leg that I already sewed up. So that does mean that I have a fair bit of seam ripping to do because not only did I sew the two sides together, but I also sewed down the seam allowance. I don't know if you can even see that, but anyway, I have quite a bit to seam rip, but that's okay. It gives us a chance to catch up. So how are you doing? What's going on with you? Read any good books? Watched any TV shows? I have been watching Palm Royale, and I'm gonna be honest, 90% of the reason I'm watching it is for the fashion. It takes place in like the late 60s, early 70s, something like that. The outfits are absolutely to die for. Every time the main character, Maxine, is on screen, I'm like, I want her wardrobe. I want all of it. I usually turn shows on as just kind of background noise while I'm doing other things. But this show, I'm like, no, I need to watch it because I need to see what all of these women are wearing. So like I said, it takes place in like the late 60s, early 70s in Palm Beach, Florida. The main character, Maxine, is from Tennessee, and she is basically trying to work her way into the group of wealthy socialites who run Palm Beach. Kind of that, 60s Hollywood glamour mixed with like a good vintage beach vibe. Think like vintage Beverly Hills or Palm Springs. It's a lot of very bright colors, and I just love 60s, 70s fashion so much that anytime I'm looking through vintage sewing patterns on Etsy, inevitably every single pattern that I'm drawn to is from either the 60s or the 70s. I just love that era of fashion. And not just fashion, I think just the overall 60s, 70s aesthetic was so fun, and I wish we would go back to it. My husband and I were in Miami not too long ago, and so, we were walking around the Art Deco district, and they have all of those gorgeous buildings there. I just love the design, the geometry, the fonts, the brightness, the colors. It's so gorgeous, and I wish they still made buildings like that. It makes me so sad that buildings nowadays are all chrome and glass, and like, I get it, that's that's the look now. That's what's gonna sell. But just the corporate gray makes me so sad. I don't know. I think that so much of the aesthetic of the 60s and 70s was just kind of this bright whimsy and just kind of this free-spiritedness. And I'm not saying every single person felt that, but I do think that the aesthetic very much speaks to that kind of personality. I just wish we had more of it. If you're gonna build a building, like, you might as well just make it pretty, you know? And watching this show definitely has me wanting to just sew an entire wardrobe with 60s, 70s sewing patterns. Leave a comment below if you'd be interested in that, because I can tell you I need so little persuading to do a full, like, sewing a vintage girl summer wardrobe. I have a lot of fabrics, honestly, that would already be really good for it. Just the color of the clothing in this show is so gorgeous. The main character wears a lot of yellow, which I think is very symbolic for her never-ending optimism, despite a lot of put-downs from the other socialites. There's bubblegum pink, there's like a sunset orange, there's just so many gorgeous, gorgeous colors and beautiful costuming choices in this movie, or in this TV show. The plot's pretty interesting. Like I said, it's this girl from Tennessee trying to worm her way, not just into the social circles of the elites in Palm Beach, but also like trying to become like the queen of the Palm Beach socialites. You see some of the intrigue behind the scenes, you know? There's a lot of dirt on these people's hands for sure, and you get little looks into that and sort of the politics of the social circles that they're in. I would recommend it. I'm like 8 episodes in, I think, so I haven't finished the first season, but it's fun. If you love beautiful 60s, 70s costumes and that whole aesthetic with, you know, the bright cabana stripes and the palm trees and the sort of old Beverly Hills hotel sort of vibe, I think you'd really enjoy it. I feel like people watching this can probably relate, but I absolutely am someone who will watch a show primarily for the costumes. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, great show, great humor, but also, let's be real, costumes are incredible, and I don't know that I would rewatch the show as many times as I have if it wasn't for the costuming. What are some of your favorite movies or TV shows just in terms of costumes? I'd love to know. All right, I gotta finish ripping this. All right, I have finally finished underlining all of the pieces, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to sew up the long side seam here. I'm gonna sew this long side seam, I think about 22 inches, because the last time I did it, I did 24 inches, and so the slit sort of started at the bottom of my kneecap, and I want it to start closer to the top of my kneecap, which sounds like a weird sentence. That is such an oddly specific thing to want. And then I think I'm gonna go ahead and sew the pant legs below the curved edges together as well, so kind of finish up the pant legs, and then I'm just gonna sort of baste them together to see what it looks like when I put it on, make sure I'm okay with the placement of everything, get a better idea of where the slit will actually start, all of that, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right, so I messed up a little bit. I meant to just baste the pant legs together, which when you baste, typically you don't backstitch and you use a very long stitch. It's just a temporary thing, so you're trying to make it as easy as possible to remove the stitches later. But I forgot. I was in work mode and I just went ahead and full on sewed it. So it's fine, it's sewn. I'm just gonna keep it as is at this point. So here is how our pants are looking. They're looking pretty good. It's always kind of funny to see them without the waistband, because especially elastic waist pants, it's so much wider. Once you add the waistband, it sucks it up, but they kind of look like clown pants. They're looking good. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and start on the waistband and just keep moving forward. With these pants, I don't need to add a separate waistband. The waistband is kind of built into the pants. So I'm just gonna fold these over like 1/2 inch and then fold them over like 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I forget exactly what it is, but just kind of do that and create the waistband to run the elastic through. So I'm gonna go do that. So we're looking pretty good. I really like the fit of it. I think the slit is good, just enough leg. I know, please try to control yourself. Really all we have left to do at this point is I just need to basically hem around the slit and hem the bottom of the pants and add in the ties. And I think we're good to go. So perfect, let's finish this up. So now I have a whole little pile of ribbons, kind of, to make the ties, which is very, very simple. All I'm gonna do is just fold them right sides together, sew up the long side, and then take a safety pin and flip it so they're inside out. Fold over one of the edges so it's nice and enclosed, sew that up, and then attach it to the pants, and we should be in pretty good shape. However, I do have quite a few ribbons to go through, so let's get started. We're losing daylight. All right, so the next item on my list is an easy summer dress. So this is just a simple dress that you can throw on, you can dress it up, you can dress it down. It just kind of works for all sorts of occasions. So I have this beautiful butter yellow bed sheet. This color I think just absolutely personifies summer, and I know that it is kind of a trend for summer 2025, so I'm super excited to be making a full dress out of this. And I'm going to be making the Emma dress by Friedlies, which is a pattern that I have already made multiple times. It's just a very classic silhouette, a little bit of a fit and flare, but not too much flare. It's just kind of nice and subtle. It's midi length. It has these beautiful princess seams that run all the way down. It's also a great dress for layering, which I think is part of what makes it such an easy dress for styling and wearing. This is also a very beginner-friendly pattern. It is truly so easy. I was gonna say, all you have to do is cut out the pieces and sew them together, which is technically what you have to do with any sewing project. But I mean, there's really not a lot of technical skills involved in this pattern. I mean, you do have to add a zipper, but outside of that, it is an extremely, extremely easy pattern. So I do highly recommend this if you're just starting sewing. And I will have a link to it below. It really is just such a beautiful pattern, as you'll see for yourself in just a second here. So let's get sewing. All right, so I have cut out most of my pieces. The only thing is that I'm not quite sure if I can get away with just using facing or if the fabric's too transparent and if I'm gonna have to do a full lining. But regardless, the dress is basically just these 4 long panels that I sew together, and that's almost it. So
Wait, why is this giving man with a fish on Tinder energy?
I'm gonna get started and we'll see how it looks. All right, I just basted in the back of the zipper to get an idea of fit, and I'm really happy with it. It's drooping down a little bit because I haven't added any straps or anything yet, but overall, it fits really well. It's also not as transparent as I was afraid it was going to be. As you can see, I'm wearing this super cute sports bra underneath it, which goes so well with the dress. But the bra is actually like this dark gray, and you can't really see it through the fabric. I almost hate when this is this middle ground of like, I could go through all of the extra work of creating a full lining and adding that in, or I could just whip up a quick facing, and either way, I'll probably be fine. Okay, I think that I am going to make a full lining because the whole point of this is to be an easy summer dress, right? So adding in a full lining and having that extra layer of opaqueness is just gonna make it even easier to throw on and go somewhere and not have to worry about what I'm wearing underneath or anything like that. So I think I am gonna put in that little extra work. So anyway, I'm gonna go, I gotta finish up the back here, sew up the lining, add in the straps, and we're all done. Like I said, this is such an easy dress to sew. If you're new to sewing, I truly cannot recommend this enough. It's so simple and it looks so nice and elegant. Has a little bit of a twirly skirt, which I love. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I did add an extra few inches. So it is kind of like maxi length on me right now. I don't know, I'll decide later how much I wanna shorten it. Anyway, let's go wrap it up.
Another change that I made to this pattern is adding adjustable straps. So let me show you how I did that. First, we have the ring piece already sewn in and our loose front strap. With the front strap, you're going to take your slider piece and make a big loop. Now, especially if you're recording, this might take what feels like an embarrassingly long time to pull the strap through, but that's okay. The important thing is to stay persistent. You want to keep the loop big because, spoiler, we're going to have to run the strap through the slider again, and it'll be easier if the first loop is loose. Now, you run the strap through the ring piece. For some reason, this makes me think of one of those relay races where you have to run and put your forehead to a baseball bat and spin around 3 times and run to the end. Anyway, you're going to go back to the slider piece and loop it through again in reverse order. There may be points where this feels like trying to shove a bath towel through the eye of a needle, but sheer determination can get you through. Finally, fold the loose end of the strap over and sew it down. And congratulations, now you have an adjustable strap. And of course, no summer wardrobe is complete without tank tops. I pretty much live in tank tops during the summer since I sweat like a popsicle on the 4th of July, and tank tops are kind enough to not put my armpit sweat on full display. Anyway, I whipped up a couple of tank tops using the Zoe tank pattern from True Bias. I made one in this vibrant red because it's one of my favorite colors, and for some reason, I don't have any red tanks. And I made another in this polka dot fabric. Polka dots have been everywhere this summer, and they're such a fun pattern. There's a playfulness to them, but they also look very classy and elegant with the right styling. And with that, my wardrobe was complete. Thank you so much for watching. I am high-key obsessed with everything I made, and I really hope you enjoyed watching the process. I appreciate you coming along on this journey with me. If you enjoyed the video, it would really mean a lot if you gave it a thumbs up. I know it's a really small thing, but it really helps me out. And if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you around here, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye!